Hi everyone and welcome back to the June Monthly WARNO Tournament from SD League. May I remind you, I've put a link down below if you would like to contribute to the prize pool. It is free, you don't actually have to pay any of your own money. You can just click a few links and buttons down the side after you log into the site. Today we're seeing Zoo Warden against Awoodenbox, both playing as the 2nd Panzergrenadier Division. So we have a mirror matchup, obviously a very different start for both players. Awoodenbox on the right here in blue going for a very heavy FS Jaeger push at the start. We're seeing very few FS units on the other side for Zoo Warden, however. Just a Milan 2 in the middle there and an FS Jaeger there. But otherwise it's mostly a very hard forward push for Awoodenbox at this stage of the game. Lots of reinforcements obviously coming in for Zoo Warden. Panzergrenadier in Marders, and plenty of recon Scorpions there of all things. It does mean that Awoodenbox has got a slight foothold in Gulf, where there is only a single FS Jaeger squad for Zoo Warden. There are plenty of reinforcements coming in there for Awoodenbox as well, so I can imagine that Awoodenbox could take Gulf. However, in the middle we do see that Zoo Warden probably has the overwhelming force at least clustered in the centre here, making good use of those Scorpions and their autocannons in this version of the game, which obviously means that they are devastating to some extent because they have had that little buff. Obviously reinforcements coming in down here with those Marders to Gulf as well. HE Bomber coming in there and another HE Bomber coming in for Awoodenbox. It has dropped his payload, just going for all these units in the middle, and the other one coming in and potentially going to drop in the same location. No, a little bit further back. Dropping on the Leo. Done it very little damage though. And of these, not a huge amount of damage. Obviously the explosion radius on those bombs still not great. And Awoodenbox losing, I think, both of those jets. Certainly one of them went down there. I'm not sure if the first one got out. 2 commands coming in. One for Delta, one for Golf by the looks of it for Awoodenbox here. He's also bringing in various tanks now. No, he has peeled one off and it is going towards Charlie. However, Zoo Warden in firm control of the centre now. I mean, Awoodenbox completely pushed out of it. Realistically, obviously we have these scimitars pushing around the back here for Awoodenbox. Probably a very good manoeuvre. We'll be able to cut off reinforcements and do some damage to the back line. However, Zoo Warden could potentially push an advantage here. He certainly has more in the field. And could potentially push out into Charlie or push down into Delta. Can certainly retake Gulf with these reinforcements that are coming in potentially, as long as he plays well with them. And there are some M48s coming in here and some more Jaeger. So he has plenty of troops coming in, does Zoo. Here we can see Awoodenbox is trying to bring in reinforcements in the centre to try and push back into Bravo. Not going to be the easiest task. We'll have to be very careful. Obviously we'll be up against Marders with Milans. Scorpion's not posing too much of a threat. Biggest threat here is probably the Leo 2A3, though a supply truck needs to be brought up to the front lines to repair that. Absolutely nothing in Delta now. I mean, a couple of these Scorpions could whiz down here, kill that Jeopard, and kill the command that's there as well, but obviously Zoo doesn't know that. And, wow, Zoo will have overwhelming force in this point as well very shortly. Now this is the risk, of course, if you go for a very heavy forward deployment, which Awoodenbox did, and spread across the entire map, with admittedly some success. It does mean that due to that spread, your units aren't as focused, and like what has happened here, Zoo Warden has managed to come in and dish out the damage and kill everything in the centre. It does mean that there are a few units at the top still for Awoodenbox, but he is now kind of on the back foot here, which is not the best place to be in. Here is another bomber coming in for Awoodenbox. He's using these a lot, and there isn't that much anti-air about, to be fair. More in the centre than anywhere else. This should be a nice strike, but it's mostly going to be hitting tanks. And hasn't even scratched them, because again, the blast radius on these bombs is tiny. It's, you know, if you can get a spot-on hit with a HE bomb, you will annihilate whatever it hits. But the blast radius is so small, it's kind of disappointing sometimes. FS Jaeger getting torn apart there. Obviously, let's be honest, you know, Awoodenbox calling in reinforcements here, but he's not going to get back into Gulf. I just don't feel he's going to hold that at all. I'll be concentrating more on building a potentially defensive line for Delta now in his situation. But we'll see. Maybe he will surprise us. Obviously, he also needs to push back into the centre. He's going up against a Leo 2A3 there. I'm sure he knows it's still in play. Obviously, he's got these guys stopping reinforcements coming in. It is slowing down those reinforcements. Scimitar's not a bad unit. They do have that lovely cannon. And as we just discussed, autocannon's doing a lot of damage at the moment. And as I say that, obviously they're completely missing those Panzer Grenadiers. But in general, they're doing a good job. Nothing behind the lines at the moment for either player. I'm still waiting in these big games to see someone try and get right round the back. Obviously, there's minimal point in trying to go right round the back on this map because there's no spawn CV to kill. And, you know, really the only one is here. And it's so close to the front lines, you're at risk from anti-air and obviously all the reinforcements. It's not like two ways where you have a couple of back points that are very out the way from the reinforcements coming in. IDS cluster coming in, hopefully to go for that Leo. It is, but the Leo is moving. Zoo Warden paying attention. We'll get that out. Yeah, it is. Oh, it took some damage though, I think. Either it's been hit by something else or it did get caught by the back end of those bombs. And it's dead. Side shot by the Leo 1A1A1. He lost a Leo 1A1A1 in the process, but that was very well played. He took out the biggest threat that was there. Obviously slightly ahead in points for Awoodenbox. I'm not really jumping on that at the moment because we can see there are commands coming in for Zoo Warden. One will be going to the middle, putting him at +1. And there is obviously one in here as well. So that'll be +3 straight away. Well, once that one gets into the middle. Over here, we can see that there is a little bit of movement from Awoodenbox trying to push back in the middle, but it's just not happening for him right now. He's not got many units down here. Obviously, all these reinforcements coming in, trying to push into Gulf. He really doesn't need to do that. He really just needs to hold Delta and try and get back into the center. He needs to be able to neutralize the central points, and he needs to be in the point to do that. He needs to have some kind of control. He needs to hold some kind of corner of it, some kind of edge of it. He is in down here now. Obviously, all of his Scorpions that were around here are now dead. Jaeger putting up a little bit of a fight, but, you know, there's not a lot in here for Awoodenbox. Good use of a Leo 1A5 there against these M48s. Awoodenbox is going in with these guys. I mean, he's keeping up the pressure. I will give him full credit for that. And it means that it will make Zoo Warden consider splitting his forces. The 2A3 coming in for the centre. I still feel as though when I zoom out, in terms of numbers of units on the map, the upper hand is still with Zoo Warden, let's be honest. Obviously the centre does have quite a few of these supply trucks in, so do we count those? Probably not, but even so, I think at the moment Zoo Warden just has the upper hand. But there are bigger clusters of units for Awoodenbox, which means he could potentially push through in one area. What I would like to see from Zoo Warden are potentially some jets, potentially an MW1, which would be absolutely devastating to all these forces pushing through the forest. Would easily wipe out all those infantry. IHOC coming in there for Zoo Warden. I mean, let's be honest, both players have mediocre air defense right now. This is going to make a difference for Zoo Warden. HE Bomber coming in at the bottom. There is still no anti-air at the bottom for Zoo Warden, actually. HE Bomber just going in, trying to kill anything that's there. Didn't catch those troops. Again, you know, that huge explosion right behind those troops, but didn't even face them at all. Still high cohesion. It doesn't make any sense. The HE bombs still need adjusting. This is, however, still in play. I'm not entirely sure why. That should really evac immediately. It's now taking fire from the center of the map. And it's still... Please evac that, thank you. So Awoodenbox has managed to get back into the center here. Still quite a lot of units in for Zoo Warden. He really needs to regain control here. Because while he's +3 and is catching up rapidly, He is allowing a little area for a wooden box to get a command in. Obviously, still causing a big distraction down here, pushing up these marders. He's got Pioneer Flams with a Hand Flam Patron. He's got Panzer Grenadiers down there. So he's got plenty of units pushing in. He should be able to get back in this point. To be honest, I'm surprised he's managed that. I expected Zoo Warden to have more in here and position his troops a bit better. But credit for a wooden box to keep up that constant pressure. Certainly can't fault him. He's bringing in an infantry command to put in the centre. Probably a good choice. Leo 203 being called in. Has still managed to keep control of this area up here. Now, obviously it's important to hold this area for either player because it means that a wooden box can stop Zoo Warden calling in reinforcements here and getting them into here. Equally, you know, Zoo Warden would just like to hold it so he has that option. There's that command in the bottom. Points now neutralized. 28 minutes to go in this game. It could still go either way. I feel like that early advantage that Zoo Warden had, where he had a lot of extra troops on the field, has slowly been whittled down. And it's hard to say why. In my mind, it's possibly because Zoo Warden didn't push his early advantage when he had all those units and was not a bit more aggressive with them. I think a wooden box did a very good maneuver with those scorpions going around the back of Bravo when they came round here. You know, that wasn't a bad maneuver at all. A wooden box certainly thinking outside of his wooden box. Interesting that Zoo Warden has pulled his command out of that point. Obviously he has no units in there currently. There are reinforcements coming. But a wooden box in a reasonable position is pushing up forces down to the bottom of the centre point now. Very nice side shot on that tank. He's going up against a Leo there though. Lost one tank. Not much coming in. Oh, there are some Leopards coming in. Cluster coming in as well, going for that Leo 2A3. It's still missed it. Zoo just keeping a little bit of an eye on there. IDS Cluster trying to take out that HE bomber. He's probably going to die. Yeah, there it goes. Leopard's taking out some of these vehicles, and this is a hard push by Zoo Warden. He wants that command dead. He's throwing everything in. That's not a bad strategy. He needs to utilize that Leo, though. It's just sat there, not shooting at anything. All that firepower, not doing anything. I know that's not what Zoo Warden will be concentrating on right now, but he needs to make use of that Leo 2A3, or it's a very expensive paperweight. There we go, it's firing now. It's managed to kill that. But yeah, you need to be using the 2A3 a little bit more aggressively there. Obviously, at the same time, you don't want to lose it, but you've got to be utilizing its firepower. Look at these. FS Jaeger commander just running away. That's all it needs to do. Pioneer Flams coming in here. But these guys are being resupplied instantly by the fact there is a supply truck there. So actually, these Pioneer Flams are going to be doing quite a good job. Now they shouldn't be getting rearmed while they're in combat, of course. And they are going to run out of firepower. Yep, there it goes. And technically, Zoo Warden should easily win that fight. There we go. Put his command back in. No further command coming in for Golf as yet. It's currently still +2 to a wooden box. A wooden box now back in control of this top edge. Obviously holding that now much more important than it was 10 minutes ago, because it means that Zoo Warden can't get in to try and clear this forest easily. Leo 2A3 still intact, pulling back there. This has turned into a real slogging match from where it appeared that Zoo had an upper hand at the start. if we zoom out now, I'd say it's more on sort of an equal footing in terms of numbers in the field. Another run from these HE bombers. Scorpion getting moved out of the way, of course. No damage there, and that jet is dead again. I must say, Awoodenbox is losing a lot of jets this game. FS Jaeger Commander coming in there. That will be going to Golf, I imagine. Loads of reinforcements being called in for Zoo Warden right now. You know, it's really interesting. For what should have been, in my head at the time, Zoo Warden being the aggressor in this game, after managing to claim the centre very early on and then pushing back quite aggressively in Golf and getting rid of Awoodenbox's units, it does feel like since that point, the real aggressor has always been Awoodenbox. Now, you know, obviously it's partially on Awoodenbox to be aggressive and push into Bravo, and equally Zoo Warden could then play defensively because he controlled Bravo. But, you know, sometimes an aggressive policy is the best defense, because if you've pushed all the way to Charlie as Zoo Warden, all the way back here, then it forces Awoodenbox into a position where he has to either defend his last points as best he can, or come in very piecemeal, potentially, against your attacking force, which puts you in the upper hand. So I feel like Zoo Warden did lose that opportunity to be that aggressor in this game, and it swung back heavily for Awoodenbox to be that aggressor. Now neutralized, command back in here for Zoo Warden. Point still ahead for Awoodenbox with 22 minutes to go. But at the moment, Zoo Warden throwing everything at the bottom points here. Lots of reinforcements still being called in for Awoodenbox down here as well, where Awoodenbox getting himself in a much more of a defensive position. Another Leo 203 coming in for the centre for Zoo Warden. But yeah, it's fascinated me how much of a turnaround this game has been for Awoodenbox. It's not something I expected. I'm really curious to see how far Zoo Warden can get at the bottom of the map, pushing out to Golf here. Could he get all the way to Delta? I mean, it would certainly be a big boon for him if he can kill that FS Jaeger Commander. But there's a lot of tanks coming in for Awoodenbox down there. Loads of scimitars coming in for Zoo Warden. Obviously making good use of all of those autocannons. Loads more tanks coming in again at the bottom for Awoodenbox. I mean, he's getting a lot of these 1A1A1s in. And some 1A5s, no less. But he's got a lovely defensive sort of wall across the centre now. And he's moving a lot of his forces. Do you see that movement? All these heavy armoured vehicles, the Marders, all pushing down to provide another line of fire on what is pushing here. Zoo Warden realises his mistake and is pulling back. Cluster Bomber coming in to go for these tanks. Is it going to be far enough back? This might be a very nice strike. Killed a Marder, but that was all. To be fair, the tanks had already killed one of the enemy tanks. There's 3 shots on one tank. That'll do it. Upper hand again to Awoodenbox here. One F5 and a bunch of scimitars there. Finally going to be arriving at the bottom, but look at the forces that Awoodenbox is sporting right now. I mean, zoom out. Compare where we were at the start of this game to now, and the screen is blue. There are a lot of forces on here for Awoodenbox, and very little, comparatively, for Zoo Warden, it feels. I mean, if we zoom in a little bit further, look at all the infantry. All the vehicles, and there's just a smattering. Now there's some big tanks here. He's got a couple of 2A3s, but Awoodenbox definitely has the advantage right now. The question is, are we going to see Awoodenbox be aggressive again? He is pushing these tanks up, and you know, as I say, Awoodenbox being the aggressor massively in this game, And certainly not what I expected after the initial battles. I expected Awoodenbox to retreat into a much more defensive position, but I think Zoo Warden's in trouble. And I honestly felt at the start of this game that it was actually potentially Awoodenbox in trouble. So I'm quite impressed by the turnaround. And it just goes to show how hard it can be to call these games, as a couple of mistakes with some units or a failed push could cost you an entire game. Because it's very easy for someone to turn that around to their advantage. Depending on the player, of course. Lots of reinforcements coming in, obviously, for Zoo Warden now. Awoodenbox sort of slowed down his assault at the bottom. That's likely going to be to his detriment because reinforcements will have arrived, including the Leo 2A3 I notice in the corner of that bottom point now for Zoo Warden. Leo 2A3's at the top of the centre for Awoodenbox though. Now, the reality is it would be very foolish for Zoo Warden to make a push at the bottom. And I think Awoodenbox has left it too late. Nice cluster coming in there. It's going to hit something. Oh, maybe not. Kind of went down the road. I thought he was going to lace the forest with those. Unfortunate strike. Look at all these reinforcements coming in. He's bringing in mortars now. He's bringing in some tampellas. Plenty of reinforcements there for Zoo Warden. Is Zoo Warden going to try another push at the bottom? I feel like that would be a mistake. I feel like he's surrounded at all fronts coming in the open field here. He's got units going to be firing at him from up here, down here. But can I see Zoo Warden being able to push anywhere else now? Probably not. I'm really curious about the kills to losses in this game. And when we come to the end of it, it'll be really interesting to see. 17 minutes left in this game, and I genuinely didn't expect us to make it this far. Here it goes, Zoo Warden doing a push. I'm really curious which way this goes. I mean, Awoodenbox has a lot of tanks in there. Kind of disappointed I'm not seeing those tampellas try to do something by just lacing that area with mortar shells. Bunch of Eyehawks coming in for Awoodenbox now. Now we're seeing a shift in Zoo Warden's tactics. He's starting to bring in units at the top of the map. You can see up there just coming in at the back. He's got a good push going on here. I'm surprised he's made it this far. This is weird. These tanks just aren't getting many shots off. And these Eyehawks aren't going to be any help. Here we go. Tampella's now firing. Yeah, it's going to lace this area, I'm pretty sure. Jaeger's coming in to reinforce as well, I think. Awoodenbox sneaking around the back. With a Jaeger and a Jaeger commander. Cluster bomber coming in. It's going for the 2A3. Is it going to get it? It's going to be moved. Very nice. He did catch it. It is routed. Don't know how much damage it's done. Mortars, meh. Not even dropping the cohesion of those units. I really wish they'd do something with the explosions from artillery and bombs. A little bit of spreading of the blast radius, even if it was just to damage the cohesion more. Panzer Grenadier Martyrs pushing in now. And those Jaegers. Oh, Panzer Grenadiers and the Jaegers laying waste to some of those tanks there. I feel like Awoodenbox has lost some of his positioning here. He was doing such a good job. If he'd only pushed when he had all those units there, before the reinforcements arrived for Zoo Warden, he might have held a corner of golf. Panzer Grenadier Martyrs charging into the open here. Leo 2A3s getting some shots off. One dead squad. Those ones got out. But they're going to be ripped apart. That felt like a very emergency last-ditch charge by Zoo Warden. That was a heck of a waste of units. That was a heck of a waste of units. Down at the bottom, Zoo Warden's little push certainly halted at the moment. Those Jaeger have arrived. More Leopards coming in. Some more Martyrs with Panzer Grenadiers. I mean, obviously Awoodenbox will win on points here if it keeps going. There's 13 minutes left in this game. I'm trying to think if either player really has the potential to make a significant push here. Awoodenbox still has a reasonable amount of forces at the bottom. So I could kind of see Awoodenbox making another push. But there's a lot of reinforcements coming in for Zoo down there. A little bit of movement of a few tanks up here for Zoo Warden. But he's at risk from these Leo 2A3s down here. And some Panzer Grenadier Martyrs coming in. I really just can't imagine where this is going to go now other than stalemated until the end with a win for Awoodenbox, which, as I say, was unexpected. Both players building up forces across the map. More coming in for Awoodenbox there, more coming in towards the middle, some Milan 2s. And more Tempelas coming in, which are doing not a lot. Where is he sending these Jaeger commanders? He's trying to get a rear shot on those Leopards? I mean, he lost his commander. What was that all about, Awoodenbox? Was that a mistake? Or was that a deliberate attempt to get a rear shot on that? I'm genuinely curious. Please do let me know in the comments. Because the FS Jaeger Commander... The FS Jaeger Commander doesn't even have a launcher. It's just got the G3A4. I was about to say I didn't think it had a launcher, that one. Well, we're seeing mostly blue on the map, but there's certainly a build-up of red as well. 11 minutes less to go in this game, and at the moment it is kind of stalemated. I would kind of like to see one big last epic battle in this game. Mostly, I think Awoodenbox moving all of this stuff across towards this area here. Because he has a lot of tanks and Martyrs and stuff there. I think he could push it. He'd suffer a lot of losses though. Another 2A3 coming in there. Various units coming in at the top there. But I feel like Awoodenbox is pretty entrenched here. I think it would be very hard to push the centre. I equally think it would be very... I don't think Zoo Warden could mount a solid push now. I really don't. I think the only player here who could mount a solid push is probably Awoodenbox. But mostly at the bottom of the map. I think he'd struggle at the top because of all these tanks. 10 minutes left. The warning is on the screen. I'm tempted to speed this up a bit because these guys aren't doing anything. Both players afraid to make a move. Unsure what the other players has. Nothing around the back for either player. And I mean, a wooden box has the advantage he can just sit now. He's got the points. He will win on points. He doesn't need to make a move. Zoo has to. Zoo has to take something. He has to kill a command. He has to push. But I don't think he has the forces to do it and win. So this game's perhaps already over. And has been for a little while now. A little bit of movement at the top here, but there can't be much left of this game now, even if it goes to the 40-minute mark. So I'm going to speed things up a bit, because I'd rather they did something. These leopards getting some shots off up here, but not really a lot happening. It's just a bit of a skirmish, and lots of mortars coming in and not doing a lot. Reinforcement being called in there. These Jaeger around the back, they're just going to die. I'll leave it at 2 times speed. Zoo Warden pushing down the bottom here, and Zoo Warden's going all in. And this is what I thought he would have to do. He had to be aggressive. Equally, a wooden box meeting him in the middle there, bringing up all his forces. He's the push at the bottom as well. Zoo Warden leaving it obviously till the last minute, so to speak. He's got a decent push going on. Has managed to kill all those tanks. But obviously, big push going on up here for a wooden box. Let's slow it down and have a look. Lots of supporting fire from some tanks up here, though there's only 1 2A3 left, which is taking fire from a Leo 1A5 there, and is dead. Down at the bottom, if you'll excuse the whizzing about. MW1 coming in and killing all those infantry there. Beautiful strike. Obviously, the vehicles still remain. But this is a hard push from a lot of tanks. 5 minutes left to go. Loads of pioneers being called in. Jaeger and a 2A3 being called in there. Lots of forces dead up here for both players. But a wooden box still making the push. I almost wish he would move those Milans up so they were in firing range of these tanks. A wooden box has lost a lot of units at the end here. A lot of units. But I mean, in terms of points, he's still won. Cluster coming in here to try and take out this Jeopard, I assume. Cluster bomber is dead. Jeopard will probably die, yeah. I think it was killed by the tank first. MW1 striking these things here. Did a bit of damage to Scorpion. Nothing really to the tank. Took some shots, but will get out alive. 5 minutes left in this game. I tell you what, Zoo Warden's last minute push wasn't a bad one, because the reality was a wooden box pushed to meet him as well. So a wooden box sort of left his defensive positioning to aggressively push back. That MW1 might still die. Yeah, flew back over the centre. I mean, a wooden box has still won this game. He's won on points. It would be very difficult for Zoo Warden to catch up on points now. And his reinforcements are going to get in too late to make a difference. With just 4 minutes left to go. Lots of reinforcements already here in Delta for a wooden box. Just the 1 tank left. The push is over. Overwhelming force, at least on the front line right now while these reinforcements are arriving, remains with a wooden box. GG, guys. The sort of first 3/4 of the game, quite tense. Big turnaround for a wooden box. Quite a surprise for me. Slowed down a little bit. Both of you kind of felt not in a position to push, I guess, from your position, which is fair enough. It's hard to know what's going on the map. But equally, it came to a point where Zoo Warden had just left it too late. And obviously, we can see in the middle now, a wooden box has managed to push through Bravo, kill the command, is in control, is pushing up the points. And that has to be game. Yes, and there's a surrender. Commiseration, Zoo Warden. Can I just say, look at those kills to losses at the end there after that final battle. I would love to know what they were before the final battle happened. I'm really curious if Awoodenbox was really far ahead or if it was still quite tight. But commiseration, Zoo Warden, that was a good game. It was hard fought, you pushed back multiple times, but Awoodenbox, MVP purely for taking the advantage and keeping up the aggression, and I love the maneuver with the scorpions round the back of the centre at the start. That really messed up Zoo Warden's reinforcements. Even if it's just slowing down enemy reinforcements, it makes a difference. Standout units, the Marders, the Leos, more Leos. That was actually a really enjoyable game, guys. Leos on the other side. Obviously, we've got a mirror match here. FS Jaeger doing a good job. More Leos. Milan too got a lot of kills. Wow. Look at that. Well done, guys. Really good game. Commiserations again, Zoo Warden. That was a hard-fought game, as shown by the kills to losses. But Awoodenbox, credit to you for your pushbacks, especially after the start where I honestly thought you were in trouble. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let's hop into the next game, as it is a shorter one. Right, guys, welcome to game 2. A very different matchup this time. Now we have Awoodenbox on the right in blue again, but playing as the 8th Infantry Division, and over on the left in red we have Zoo Warden playing as the 3rd Armoured Division. Something we've seen used more in recent patches, as obviously it's a little bit more balanced these days, though obviously tank balance is incoming still, so things might change with that again. But once more we're seeing a NATO versus NATO matchup. So zooming in, we can see that once more we have a lot of Jaeger Aufkühl coming in for Awoodenbox. He does like those very advanced pushes with lots of recon or lots of FS Jaeger. He obviously favours that. On the other side, less so. We've got some M150 recon vehicles in there, but not really much in the way of recon infantry. We do see the use of a lot of military police, which have sort of come back into favour even after their nerf from when they were originally in the game. They do have the advantage that they can take out incoming vehicles and transports much earlier than other weapons, so they do have that early game advantage still. Some chaparrals in there for some early air defense for Zoo Warden. That is not a bad decision, firstly because there are choppers on the field, and secondly because we remember from the previous game Awoodenbox does like his HE bombers. But military police, I think that was all of the military police that Zoo Warden probably has available to him called in straight away. We got a Thunderbolt AT brought in there, not sure what the plan is for that, possibly going for these two tanks down at the bottom. There's just a couple of M60s down there, but we do see once more an aggressive push on Golf coming right out the box from Awoodenbox. And there it is, the Alpha Jet, a HE bomber. In immediately, he will be going up against a Stinger there, which was firing at the Cobra. Thunderbolt could also potentially get a shot off at that Alpha Jet. Alpha Jet has taken damage, is being fired at by the A-10. A-10 doing a lot of damage with its cannon, obviously, right now. Has taken out that chopper, is engaging the F-16C Fighting Falcon. Another Alpha Jet coming in. That chopper taking shots at the A-10 Thunderbolt. The Thunderbolt's still surviving. That's one jet down in the middle there. That was the F-16C that he has lost. Alpha Jet still flittering around the middle there. The Thunderbolt will get out in one piece. The Alpha Jet will also survive. But significant losses there for both players in terms of aircraft. But Awoodenbox has managed to kill all of the infantry with that HE bomber that were in those buildings, and Awoodenbox will push into Golf once more. However, look at what Awoodenbox has in the middle. Bugger all is the answer to that. Being very British about it, he has bugger all in the middle right now. Overwhelming force belongs to Zoo Warden here, but I don't think he will push that advantage. I don't necessarily think he has the... Well, he does have a Bradley there. He could push those mech rifles with the infantry, even pushing them into that building. These guys are pushing up slowly. But Awoodenbox getting an early grasp on that corner of the point there. Reinforcements coming in for Zoo Warden. Stinger's coming in for Awoodenbox, Command coming in for Awoodenbox, and an Abrams at the bottom there. We're not seeing any big tanks coming in for Zoo Warden yet, even though he is playing as the 3rd Armoured. He is bringing in 2 CVs though to get some early points. There is a CV on the way in towards the centre, potentially, or Charlie for Awoodenbox though. We do see an M1 in the middle here for Awoodenbox. If we zoom in on that a little bit, apologies for the camera movement speed. It does sometimes just do what it wants. Awoodenbox doing a lot with very little here. There isn't. Oh, there is an M1A1HA Abrams there. I didn't even see that. So there is a big tank in for Zoo Warden there. Certainly scared off the M1 Abrams, which is pulling back. All these reinforcements arriving now. More reinforcements coming in at the bottom still. And a TOW 2. Mech rifles coming in for the center. Zoo Warden not sending a lot to the center to reinforce. Is mostly focused on getting back into Gulf. As well he should be. Really what I'd like to see is if Zoo Warden can retake Gulf and press that advantage before Awoodenbox has time to reinforce Delta. Awoodenbox sending that CV straight to the middle in the end. It did drive through Charlie. Still going to be plus 2 points in the grand scheme of things to Zoo Warden though. It is plus 5 briefly until that command gets in. HE Alpha Jet coming in once more for Awoodenbox. He does love his Alpha Jets. Or HE bombers in general. It is dead though. It did drop its payload, but didn't do too much damage, I don't think, to Zoo Warden's forces. Zoo Warden's current issue are these tanks. He really needs to utilize the military police to try and do damage to those. "34 minutes to go, and this was a short game. I'll be honest with you, it's not going to last the 40 minutes, so I'm really curious what happens in the next few minutes or so to change the mind of someone in this game. Because it is a short one. I mean, obviously in terms of control of the area down here, Awoodenbox has that control, but it's not a lot of units there. He's bringing in reinforcements and 3 commands coming in, so he's probably going to cap all 3 of these points. Has Zoo Warden run out of steam already, though? He's ahead in points, though. I just can't imagine him giving it up that easy. Bit of movement at the top here. Zoo Warden moving into these buildings and pushing up these forces here. There is just some Jaeger Aufkull there protecting. Some more reinforcement being called in though. I have noticed that the Awoodenbox is clearly seeing more of the map. He's paying attention to multiple areas. And that's an improvement, I would say, for Awoodenbox. Not in the sense that he's playing badly in previous games or previous tournaments, but there's definitely been an improvement, a noticeable improvement for Awoodenbox over that period. It's a good thing because everyone should be learning as they play these tournaments. I learn when I cast. So the people playing should definitely be learning and improving over time. HE Bomber going in for this area here. He will get out alive with that HE Bomber as well. And that's both of those squads dead, though the infantry they were fighting against are routed. Sort of a smattering of reinforcements coming in for Zoo Warden, but not a lot. I'm wondering if he's struggling for points. Equally, there's honestly not a lot coming in at the other side for Warden. I mean, Awoodenbox is calling in anti-air now. This is a weird second game. And I feel like Zoo Warden's already in a lot of trouble. That M60 is causing him absolute havoc. He needs to bring that M1A1 down and kill it from in those trees. Wait, that's a hill there though, isn't it? I mean, this has a height advantage right now. an overwhelming force to a wooden box down here. I mean, there are engineers here. And they still have their satchels. They're not in range to use their satchels. You've got to keep moving them, Zoo. Or turn off their other weapons if you're just going to use them as satchel throwers. Just remember, you have to stop them now. They are a static weapon again. Nope, they're dead. So a wooden box will hold on to golf. F-15C Eagle in there. I wonder if this is what's happened, is Zoo Warden has spent money on aircraft and not on ground forces, which has cost him holding on to golf. And there's the commanding golf. Currently +4 to a wooden box. He's quickly going to overtake Zoo Warden in points. HE Alpha Jet coming in at the bottom here. Not sure what it's going to strike. I assume this road here. Or it's going after the Apache. F-15C Eagle did not kill that Alpha Jet. Although Alpha Jet did not kill the Apache either. Alpha Jet should die to these chaparrals. Yep, there it goes. Under the 30-minute mark now to go in this game. And Zoo Warden will need to build up a lot of forces to be able to push back into golf. The problem is he doesn't have enough forces in the middle to be aggressive and counter push there to cause a big distraction. Because really, when the ideal situation is when a wooden box is pushing golf, Zoo Warden needed to push the middle or the top. And that didn't happen. He didn't have the forces there to do it. And a wooden box, credit to him, was doing a lot with the very little he had in the middle at the start of the game. And there's the surrender. Kills to loss is not a huge difference, but obviously it is early in the game. Commiseration, Zoo Warden. I think you were just in an unfortunate and very difficult position there. I don't know if you'd spent a lot on aircraft, but you didn't seem to have a lot of ground forces coming in. But I know that obviously the third armor does lack a lot of cheap infantry. So commiserations, obviously both games too. A wooden box there, very well played, a wooden box. Definitely seen improvement over time in your playstyle. So well done. M60 getting plenty of kills. I mean, the M60 was doing amazing there. Obviously there weren't many kills, it was a short game. But again, commiserations, Zoo Warden. Thanks everyone for tuning in for this matchup between a wooden box and Zoo Warden. Please stay tuned for more Warno as the week goes on. Obviously have a great weekend, and I'll see you all soon.